Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Property Pros and Cons episode 5. We have finally gotten to a fifth episode, which I don't know means we're going to school or something. So I am really excited for today, and you might notice that I don't have any sort of like fun little scrolling thing to introduce because the topic that we're going to talk about today is actually one that's really important, but also is one that doesn't have that much data on, or there aren't that many articles about it. And that's essentially, basic safety when you're selling your home or when you're dealing with people, random strangers who are coming inside your home. And I saw a statistic from the National Association of Realtors. It's from 2019, but the National Association of Realtors said that 35% of all realtors at some point in their career had a situation that made them feel unsafe. And, that was, men, women, all people at some point have felt unsafe about something. And I can imagine that when people are selling a home, they are going to feel unsafe having random strangers walking in and out of their home, doing random things. Who knows what they're going to be doing, and you don't know who they are. So obviously, some people now are bringing in cameras or have audio recording devices. Real estate agents are using those to help in negotiations a little bit, and homeowners are doing that a lot of times to make sure that everything that they have stays in the home, and they're able to, not lose it, or nobody's going to steal anything, and also they kind of know who's coming in and out of their house. But there are some actually very basic tips and tricks that people can use to be safe in their home, both when they're selling their home and also if you're just like basically living in your home. So, if something happens, I have a lot of one very close friend whose house was broken into, and it was kind of like, okay, well, what's going to happen if my house is broken into? What can I do to keep myself safe? And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's a really important topic. It's not necessarily a fun topic, but given the fact that it's your house and it's your home and you want to live there and you want to feel safe there, I think that's a really important topic to talk about. And the other thing that I really want to say about that is that even though we don't want these things to happen, even though we don't know when these things are going to happen. If we just have a plan, if we're just prepared, if we know a few really quick, simple tips and tricks that we can use to make sure that that we're safe, then if in the very, very unfortunate, hopefully never happens to you, moment where something might happen in your home, you have a plan, you're prepared, you kind of know where you're going to go, you know what you're going to have, you know what places are safe, what places are not safe, you know where you can run to, where you can hide, whatever you need to do. And so we have a really special guest today who is going to talk to us about how to be safe in your home. And really, when I say she's a special guest, she is also really awesome. Um, I've known her for quite some time, and she is super awesome. She's amazing. She has great information, and she's awesome to talk to. So, when we come back, I will introduce you to our special guest, who, if you read the show description, you know who it is, and we will have a really great conversation about how to be safe in your home. All right. Well, hello, and thank you so much for being with us. Our guest today is the amazing Debbie Love. And Debbie Love, you probably would never imagine this if you saw her. She is a fourth degree black belt and certified instructor in karate. She is the quintessential person you don't want to meet in a back alley. Or at least the quintessential person you don't want to attack in a back alley. She began her training over 20 years ago to learn self defense specifically. If you have ever seen Debbie in real life, Debbie is 4'11" and 100 pounds on a good day after having drunk a lot of water. and she really doesn't look the part. These are her words, not mine. But don't let her small size fool you. Debbie can easily stop a predator in their tracks. While Debbie has taught self defense to hundreds of women, she is now focused on teenagers to make a difference for the next generation of women. Her new movement and rallying cry is "I said no." Hashtag I said no uses a simple hand technique that would be devastating to a sexual or other predator. What sets Debbie apart from others is her ability to teach self defense and address women's safety issues from a woman's point of view. Debbie is also just really amazing. Debbie is an award winning leader and advocate for women. She is a sought after speaker and a best selling author. And the best selling author of The Story of Two Loves, which tells her story of determination and persistence. And if you don't know, Debbie has a really amazing story. I don't know if she'll share it with us today, but whether she does or not, it is an amazing story. And if you read her book, you will be able to know what it is. So, Debbie, thank you for being with us.
It's great to be here. It's good to see you.
It is great to see you too. We used to see each other quite often, and then, life happened. But thank you so much for being my guest. I really, really, really appreciate it. Um, so, when we think about safety, right? You're a fourth degree black belt, you have all this experience with karate. I wonder, like, do you hope to use those skills someday? Or are you just kind of like, if you have to use them, then maybe did something wrong?
I've got to say, I secretly wish sometimes when I see somebody on the street that just could use some attention. Um, I would love it, but really, no, I don't want to have to. It's good to know that I can if I needed to, but I never really want to. I mean, there's some people that could just use a licking. That's it, just d- used to, to be hurt. But otherwise, no, I don't want to, but I love teaching it. Sorry, there's a train going by. It's
Oh, that is the beauty of live recording. We get dogs, we get trains, we get airplanes, and that's all a wonderful part of the show. So I do want to ask you, like, are there things that people can do, like you, for instance, or homeowners or anybody, that people can do just to not put themselves in danger if they just think a little bit proactively?
well, there's several things, and one of the things first is here in California, we have it's interesting living here, coming from the South, from Alabama. You had air conditioning. Here, I live coastal, and I don't have air conditioning, and I have to leave my windows open. Thank goodness I am high, so nobody can get up here. But when I used to live where I wasn't, somebody could have crawled into that window easily. So there, that's one thing that's kind of unique. Well, for me, it's unique to here because normally people have air. So there are things you can do. There's little dowels that you can put on your, if you have a sliding glass door, like a stick, longer than this perhaps, but measure it and see. And you can have it open enough for you, but not necessarily for somebody larger who might want to break in. And the same for windows, because a screen can be removed quite easy. So you can have something there. But something that actually I just thought of is, let's say you're a family. Yeah, there's a mom and a dad and three little ones or whatever. Having a doggy door that is big enough, I mean, let's say you got a big dog that everybody can get through to get out. Um, Nobody's going to think that you've gone through the doggy door. But honestly, I I think that's a great idea. Other things that you can do, and I do consider here California, that's what I'm thinking about, is, for instance, if I was ground floor, having shrubs that are just not people friendly underneath your windows. Um, that's a great idea, honestly. But there's other things you can do. I mean, because I do martial arts, my place is like, I mean, I use nunchucks to kill flies. So, um, you know, I know how to use them, but not everybody does. But I do suggest that people have something in their home, and I'm not an advocate for guns or knives that can be taken away and used on you, but to have something. For women, I suggest stun guns, or pepper spray. Have something in the house, and have them hidden in little corners of the house as well. And that also works if you are selling a home.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for all of that. And you said we want things to be tucked away or just tuck things away. I wonder where might be some good places to tuck magical things away that you can use if there's an intruder.
Quite frankly, I think if it's summertime, you're not using the heat. Where you would like, my heating thing is right here. I don't know about anybody, but little places like that where nobody would think to look, um, have something fake in the freezer, that you know uh, I don't know what they have these days. I really haven't checked that out. But let's say there's something that you can have that looks like a chicken, a whole chicken that you would freeze, or ice cream, stuff some cash or jewelry in there or whatever. But I don't think people are going to necessarily live like they're expecting an intruder. Um, Things that are real valuable, I would invest in a safe deposit box. But I would. But just in your home, oh, I could. The only place I wouldn't hide something is the underwear drawer. That's where people go.
Yes, that is definitely. I have heard that that's where people go. That's kind of the place to store things if you want to store
It's
something.
it's the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and are there? I really love what you said about sort of the windows and like where I'm staying right now, where I live right now. I also have my window just kind of open, and that just kind of is what we do, and we don't have air conditioning. Um, So I really love what you said about finding a dowel or putting something so that the window does not open more. It opens enough to let in air, but not things from the outside that you don't want, including people. Um, I think is a
Right.
really, really great piece of advice. And I wonder, you know, when I've heard you talk or hear you talk about safety, one of the things you talk about is just prevention and also like what does a predator, intruder, somebody who's kind of a lot of these crimes are in fact very opportunistic. So what are some things that people actually just like look for when they're looking
Uh,
for, somebody or
they
a
look for
house?
somebody that's not paying attention, that's not alert, that's not aware of what's going on. For instance, somebody that is digging through a purse, or something like that. In fact, women shouldn't carry large purses because it causes them to lose things in there. But it's just being distracted, no matter what that distraction may be. If you're distracted talking to a friend, that's different. But if you're walking alone, the things that matter are your gait, and whether or not you're you're thinking about where you're going rather than, you know, trying to find something in your purse. Never have earbuds. Never ever have earbuds. And I'm on a new thing. It's my new Debbie thing or love thing. Women need to start changing their shoes before they go outside. They need to put on tennis shoes. They need to get rid of the heels. Because I remember when I was working before I decided to make this like a living, I would walk in a parking garage, and if I was the only one walking, which was normally the case, all I would hear was the click clack of my shoes. And as I'm walking down the bowels of, because that's where they had me park. I was down in the bowels. It was going around these, the parking garages where you've got these huge pillars with the darkness behind them. And again, click, clack, click, clack. Well, not only would a potential predator who's waiting for me know that there's one person coming, they're going to know that one person is female. And depending on his experience, I guess, they would also be able to determine your gait and be able to almost determine your age. But if you change your shoes and you have tennis shoes on, then you're pretty silent. Now flip flops, no, they have a different click clack. But regular tennis shoes, something that not going to make noise. Not only to know, people can't predict you coming, but you can move in them. I mean, even if you had to get away from a car, you can at least move in normal shoes. And I'm constantly on women about that. When they go out to lunch, they don't need their high heels. When they go into their car, they don't need the high heels. Walking in and out of anything. So, in fact, I've decided I'm going to make a tote so that they can put their heels in it. And, with the strings, turn that into the toe with the stiletto heels in them. That's a weapon, baby. Just swing it. But I definitely think that there's things people can do to at least not make as much noise when they go out. But paying attention is the biggest thing. Noticing a car with one person sitting there that just looks suspicious. When you get something in your gut, you got to trust it. We've got to trust our gut. I mean, we use our gut and our instincts and our intuition constantly. I mean, think about it. When you're driving on the expressway, isn't it kind of weird when you kind of know somebody's getting ready to pull over and cut you off? That's
right.
intuition. Either you noticed a slight head movement, like them looking in the mirror or something, but something made you put on the brakes and slow down. That's intuition. And we need to practice it and trust in it, because it lets you know when something's not right. I pulled into a gas station recently, and the regular person wasn't there, and I got a really bad feeling. Just something's not right here. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I got right back in my car. I didn't pump gas, and I left. I found the next gas station. So it's a real thing, and people tend to dismiss it or ignore it. That's a mistake. Never do that.
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful advice because, I went to like a FBI training, or an FBI person who was doing a training, and basically they said, if you get those feelings, you can leave, and if you were wrong, you can always come back.
Yes.
Like, you can
Being
always
wrong is the worst mistake, and you've done no harm.
exactly. You leave, you can come back, and if you're not wrong, then maybe you're not in a dangerous situation. And all of what you're talking about in terms of shoes and clothes and stuff like that, I think is really helpful, for all professional women, and really, this is more of a women's issue because as a man, I probably own 30 or 40 pairs of shoes. I can, right? Yeah, I know, right? Like I've got a ton of different pairs of shoes. Every single pair of shoes that I own, I can comfortably walk or run in,
Well,
no
yes, it
problem.
is a woman's issue,
Yeah,
and but my, I teach primarily women, so and I
yeah.
speak to women's groups all the time, and high school kids, the girls, and but that's hugely important. And for you, if you're ever wearing shoes that are not comfortable, keep a change of shoes in your car.
Yeah,
Your
absolutely.
crappiest shoes, leave them in your car.
Yes. In the very unlikely event that a guy is wearing a pair of shoes that are truly uncomfortable and he can't walk in them, bring a change of shoes. That is very helpful. But, I think everything that you're talking about is valuable for, professional women, particularly because a lot of professional women wear heels, and also real estate agents, real estate agents who are women who are going off and showing people houses, and they want to look professional. And so they wear, the 5-inch stilettos that you basically can't walk in. Um, or if you can, more power to you. I respect all the way.
Well, it's interesting because I know people who will say, "Well, I walk better in these. I'm more used to these." Well, to be honest, your posture changes. Your body leans forward a little bit, and you're not you can't walk as good. I will argue with them every time. You cannot walk as good in those shoes. And to be honest with you, though, if you've noticed, having tennis shoes, what I call sneakers, whatever you want to call them, they have become in. I've noticed them when people have like talk shows on TV. They're wearing tennis shoes. So I think you would not necessarily not look professional. You would look comfortable, and I would rather talk to somebody who's comfortable.
I think that is a very valid point. People who are comfortable. And also, you know, just thinking about this from a real estate agent broker perspective, and also, from the perspective of a potential home buyer as well, I do not wear my nicest shoes to showings because I don't know how many showings where it's like this house is beautiful and then you go out in the backyard and it's like a dirt lot, or you're walking through sort of a dirt path to get up to the front door because the photo, they're redoing something or whatever. And I think for anybody who's watching who's outside of Southern California in a place that, has weather, like New Jersey or potentially New York or any of those places, like, yeah, you probably don't want to be wearing, uncomfortable heels in the wintertime because you can't really walk around in them with ice
Exactly.
and snow and stuff like that.
And also, I I had a house in when I first moved here that the back had these, they were like not bricks, but it was a fancy cobblestone thing. And when I wore heels out there, my heels got stuck in them, and they were they were just horrible because that was when the fires were. I think it was 08, 07, 08,
Mm.
and it was sweeping in between the grooves that my heels got caught in. But I'm telling you, it's the shoe thing, especially with a house, because eh, outside your heels could sink in the grass, or like you said, if it's dirt, your heels are going to sink in that stuff. Stop wearing the heels. They're doing nothing for you. They might make your legs look nice, but people are wearing slacks. And nobody's looking at your shoes, Franz. Nobody is looking at your shoes.
That is true. I don't think, and I think that's a really, really important point for real estate brokers to think about, as well as homeowners to think about, is, if you're going to be showing a house, if you're going to be, you know, and one of the things that really that very often happens if you have somebody who's coming to see your house and you're a home seller is maybe you come back, maybe the agent's not there, maybe somebody's gone through your house, they've seen all these sorts of things, maybe the agent's not there, maybe you don't walk out in clothes or shoes or anything where if somebody were to come back or still be on the property and you don't really realize it, where you are not going to be able to, do what you need to do. That's something to think about as well, safety wise.
Also, flashy jewelry or fancy clothes is also not a good idea.
Right. And also, flashy things in your house. Obviously, if you've got a $10 million house, and maybe you should make the house look like it's a $10 million house, but, leave your Bulgari diamonds in the safe deposit box so that people don't have things that you can easily take.
Interestingly, I just recently did an article in LinkedIn or a post, um, but it was about the a new gang that's started in downtown LA, and they're called the Follow Away robberies. And what they do is they have spotters in the fanciest restaurants, the fanciest shops, and all places that are watching purchasers. And what they do is that they're teams, and there's with every robbery, there's at least 5 cars, there's at least 5 runners on the streets, plus you've got the spotters. Well, what the situation that I saw the article on was a woman in downtown LA had gone into a watch shop to pick up her fixed watch. And when she left that watch shop, she went and crossed the street, and one car pulled up. They ran a red light, they didn't care, came up and almost hit her. 3 seconds later, another car came up and they trapped her. Well, when she was able to shimmy out from in between these cars, another one came up and hit her hard enough to knock her down, but gently enough that she didn't get hurt. She was knocked down. Obviously, somebody screamed watch because she threw the watch off and tossed it. The guys picked up the watch. They were gone. Now, what they do is they follow you out of a store, or they catch you on, as you're walking to your car. But if you happen to get to your car before they get to you, they will follow you home and know where you live. So this is the thing with wearing the fancy stuff. I mean, that was probably, I don't know, except for one kind of watch. I don't know fancy watches, but yeah. But these are the things that other people do know. And if this is as successful as, there's at least 17 gangs like this in LA, downtown LA. And if it's that successful in downtown LA, imagine how many cities it's going to be in across the country.
Right. And I mean, these are people who are, to some degree, they have a degree of sophistication in what they're doing. They do kind of understand that all of the things that we ask sophisticated business people to do, they will also do in order to be successful gang members. So they will sort of understand the different values of watches, and what stores are better stores and what people are better targets, and all of these sorts of considerations. And so it's really important, for people to really make sure that they are not being flashy. And especially, I'm also thinking, obviously this is real property pros and cons. So we're talking about real estate and real property, but, especially when you have, open houses where who knows who's coming into your property, who knows who's coming into the
Yes.
house. It's just people, and they're there and they're looking at everything. If at all possible, I try to encourage my clients to move out before they, sell their houses, so that all of their personal stuff, all of their personal effects, everything is outside of the property. Um,
Yes.
so that so that they are not so that they are not sort of targets, and people actually know what's going on. And I know that I've told people to, get rid of medications if they have medications that might be problematic. I've told people to, get rid of the expensive art and all of the things that show that you have a bunch of money, so that you can discourage people from trying to target your home when you are selling it. Because, ordinary when I think about it, like, if I think about my house and where I live, I'm not typically letting random people come into my house. That's just kind of not something that I do. And I think most people don't let random people come into their houses. But when you are selling your house, that is the one time when completely random, you have no idea who's going to come into your home. It's really important to think about sort of safety and what might nefarious people do to get you in trouble.
What was, I'm sorry, was that a question of what
Uh,
might they do?
I don't know if that was a question or me just like kind of pontificating and going off on a tangent, but I really do. But I guess that is a question. Like, what might people do? Like, if somebody again, you really like spend a lot of time talking about what do nefarious people look for and do when they're looking for people to target. And I really wonder, like, what if you have an open house and somebody's walking through your house, like, what might they do afterwards? Like, what risk might you put yourself in if you leave out your Bulgari diamonds and they see them and then they decide they're going
Well,
to?
they will either come back, or describe this item to a friend, because you might suspect that they've come back for something. So I can tell you my and this is, I have a family member. I shouldn't be too specific. He's dead anyway. But anyway, but family member, real estate agent, and he would use the lockbox and go in to steal people's medications, and even used his son as the potential client to do that. Now, see, people will do whatever it takes to get what they want, and that it's very scary. They will steal from you. I mean, when you think about this, when I think about this thing with the gangs in LA, who would think to target a repair shop? I mean, I think about taking a Timex to a repair shop. So people will do whatever they have to do to get what they want. And my brother risked, now I gave it away. Aha. My brother risked his real estate license um, to for medications that he could steal from people's medicine cabinet. And that's somebody with real issues. And but people will do, really, they will follow you, they will do whatever it takes. And people tend to think that because they either drive a fancy car or live in a gated community or whatever, that they're immune to this stuff, but they are not. And if people want into that gate, they can get in it. In fact, I could get in it. And most gates, you follow somebody through. If there's a security guard, I'll climb it somewhere else. I mean, you do what you have to do to get what you want. If you're dishonest and nefarious, whatever the situation may be, you want something, you go for it.
Yeah,
You want a certain girl, get yourself a date rape drug and a little dropper and just go for it. That's what people do. And it's it, well, for the honest person, it's bad. Stay on your toes here, Franz. But
yeah,
seriously, um, it is
And I think
because people will take what they want.
it's really part of what makes these kinds of conversations difficult for most people is that most people, in all fairness, most people are decent, good people, right? Very few people actually want to do anything bad. They're law abiding, they pay their taxes, they drive the speed limit. Probably not drive the speed limit in California,
I was wondering
but
who does that. Okay.
but they pay their taxes, they're law abiding, they don't steal, they generally are good people. And so it's really hard to kind of get in the mind of somebody who's really trying to do something that they should not be doing. And so that's one of the things that I think makes it hard for people when they're thinking about these kinds of situations, is like, how do I actually get in the mind of somebody who's thinking about harming or doing harm or doing something wrong? So what, I guess that is one of the questions that I have, is like, I know you seem to be a perfectly nice, kind, law abiding, decent person, but like, how do you get in the mind of somebody who might not have good intentions? How can you try to think like them to maybe not find yourself in that situation?
What I tend to do is not really identify with the bad guy, but see a potential victim. Like I walk by a playground and I'll see a mom not paying attention to the kid that's on the, that's going across the bars, or on the jungle gym. And I really, it's hard for me to get my head into the predator. But I will say there are certain things that I do. Like, for instance, I live in Encinitas. I bet everybody down 101, every homeless guy knows me because I'm saying hello. I'm stopping to talk. And trust me, if anything happened to me there, they'd have my back, or at least scream and yell. But I'm kind to them. Most people shy away. I would never recommend that you shy away. I recommend that you at least say hello. Um, because most of them, they don't want to hurt anybody. People assume they do, but they're just people down on their luck. So I make friends and like shop owners. I'll walk into a shop just to have a conversation with the owner. They know me. Um, so I try to let people know me. So if I got myself in trouble, somebody maybe would come and help. But it's very, very difficult for me to get my head into the mind of a bad guy. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I see a scary movie or somebody go into somebody's window and, I'm curled up with the pillow. But
Yeah.
it all I can do is know what to watch for. Um, and that's the person. Like, for instance, you're walking in a mall or you're walking somewhere and somebody just can't take their eyes off of you. See, that's something that'll freak me out. You're walking with your kid or carrying them and somebody stares just a little bit too long. Mm, eesh. And other things that people do. For instance, I see moms walking in like a clothing store, and the kid is like, "Mom, let's go, let's go." They've had enough. And the mom just expects the kid to be following, gets mad if the kid isn't following. But you have to keep in mind the kid is following two legs. It's easy to go follow the wrong legs, right? And and also, they tell a kid, for instance, find a policeman or find a security guard. Well, there's a big difference in the two. But how are they going to know? I say find a mom. Find a mom. Mom will take care of you. Mom will see to it that you get home. And these are just little things, but I think important things. I would have never thought of that when my son was little. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I do now. And they, and also I, like whether I'm home at home, I have stuff that I have favorite weapons, or and when I'm out and about, like I took the train up to LA for the first time ever. I've never been on a train before. It was so cool. But when I got back in Solana,
Congratulations.
thank you. When I got back and I was walking to my car, the parking lot in Solana Beach is very, very long. It was past midnight. And I'm thinking, wow, I could tell the other women who were walking knew how to walk. They were determined to get to their car, step by step by step. Me, I mean, I was ready. I had my stun gun out. I was ready for trouble. But I could tell these women had done this more than once, and I was really amazed by the way they handled themselves. But I've got to say, I handle any situation kind of differently, or I try to imagine myself. Sometimes, what if he attacked me, or these scenarios? Those can be very beneficial, especially for women. But also, people do, rob guys. We're not exclusive over here. And
Right.
they want, another hit of whatever it is they don't have the money for. They'll take you down.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely, you know, if I walk downtown, and I've lived in multiple downtowns, in multiple cities, I can kind of tell who is in the city knows where they're going, and who's not from the city and doesn't know where they're going. And if I can tell, so can the bad guys.
Right. And you're the way you walk, the way you hold yourself, the way you carry yourself is huge. Huge. They're you're walking with a decent gait and you're paying attention. Nobody, you're going to be left alone for the most part. But it only takes 7 seconds for somebody to size you up. So be paying attention all the time, because when you're not, it's going to be those 7 seconds, right? But just kind of watch out for yourself and for your friends. I have a thing with girls. They a lot of times will go out in a group, and especially the young ones. They'll go out as a group, but then one of them will meet the love of their life that night. They just and want to stay there. Oh, he'll get me home, or I'll take an Uber. You never leave a friend behind. You go as a group, you come home as a group, and you no exceptions, none. Give him your phone number. He can call you. But
If
get
it's
home
meant to be,
with
then
your.
he will find you after the day
He,
after, or week after, or
he will
whatever.
find a way.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just interesting the way things happen. And I can remember in my youth those things happening. Hey, I'm taken now. Y'all go on. I'm good. That would never happen today. uh So you have to be
Absolutely.
careful. And for instance, you're in a bar drinking. Keep an eye on your drink. Never leave it unattended. Always keep your eye on it, because it
And also,
takes seconds for somebody to slip something in that drink. And let me tell you, if you're a guy and you're on a date with a girl, and somebody wants your girl, they could date, rape, rohypnol you to get your girl.
right. Yeah, that
It
is.
swings both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important to keep in mind and think about, as moving forward. So we actually did get a couple of viewer questions, so we will move on to our next segment with Ask the Pro. We have Okay, we have a couple of questions. So the first question is, are there special safety considerations for someone with young children?
Yes, there's definitely safety
And what might
considerations.
those be?
Um, A, if you do the same things every day, for instance, you take your kid to the playground and then y'all go somewhere to a special place every time and have lunch, and then you do this, that, or the other afterwards, or whatever, or you take them home for a nap and then you go out again, whatever it is, switch it up. Don't go to that same ice cream shop, or the same playground. Switch things up from time to time. And also with young children, it might not be the kids that is the predatory prize. It could be you. So um, keep that into consideration. And if you do jog, I mean, let's say you have your kid in a jogger thing that you can run, start running different places, different directions. Don't do the same route each and every time. Again, you could be the predatory prize instead of your kids. And there's so much. I mean, if you heard the part about if you're, if your kid's following you or whatever, you're in a shop, have a plan for your kids. Tell them to find a mom who will help them if they get lost. It's certainly much easier than anything else. Then find a cop. There's so many things with kids and moms. Again, always switch things up. That's the biggest. But never take your eyes off of them, even for a second. Know who they're playing with. Oh, okay. There's a lot of firsts when you have a little one. First time you're hiring a babysitter, first sleepover, first boy girl party, first, and we can go on up. But if we're talking little ones, I don't know how little the little ones are, but first sleepover, well, you need to ask questions. Where they're sleeping, do they have brothers? Is it a dad or a stepdad? Because it makes a difference. What are they going to be doing? Do they own a gun? That's, for me, that's the big one. But I would have, again, never considered this stuff when my son was little. But boy, howdy now. Yes. And and another thing you can do if you have little ones is check the registry, the sex offender registry. People don't tend to do that. I don't know if the kid's school age, but check those places out. Daycare, make sure they're licensed. There was a place in Northern California, I believe, that was the place. Waiting list, the whole shebang. And ends up, and the place was neat as a pin. Ends up, these people were molesting children for 20 something years, and they weren't even licensed. Even cops sent their kids there. So check places out and don't feel bad when you do. If they are daycare or school, show up at odd times. There's a lot. This person should just call me.
Right.
Lots of stuff with kids.
Excellent. Second question that we got is, can you let me, you kind of did this a little bit, but can you let me know something in my house I can use to defend myself?
Oh, honey. Oh, gosh. You've come to the right place. You've heard of a billy club, right? This is not a billy club. It's actually called tumfa. It's a martial arts weapon. But I can strike somebody in so many different ways with this little puppy. You hold it like this, and I can use the short end. I can use the long end, or better still, I can use this in. Um, Something that you can use that can't be taken away from you. So there are stun guns these days that have, I carry stun guns. One looks like a lipstick, which is perfect for real estate agents because it looks like a lipstick and it makes a lot of noise. The noise even freaks out dogs, cats, coyotes. Uh, but I would wait. What was I going to say? Hold on. I was thinking of something. Oh, they have a new one out where, like, the biggest concern if you have a knife or a gun is somebody taking it from you. Um, as women,
Right.
especially, somebody could very easily take a weapon from a woman. It's so easy. You just scare them and they'll drop it. But um, they have a new stun gun that if you try to grab it, it it will stun you. So, for instance, um, this one isn't that tight, but it's shaped like it, so it only looks like a flashlight. Um, Looks like a regular flashlight a guy would carry, right, or a woman. It doesn't matter. But the stun part comes down the flashlight part. So if somebody grabs it, they're going to get stunned. I think it's
Interesting.
brilliant. I get excited about this stuff, obviously, but you got to check on that, or again, call me. I'll get you one. But I think they are neat, um, and I think stun guns are perfect for women because they don't kill you. They'll just maybe they stun you. You lose muscle control. You might, if it's used against you, you fall on the ground. It's but you won't die like a knife or a gun.
Right.
But the biggest thing, the biggest thing is take a self defense class, and again, that means call me.
We
Somebody
will
who
definitely
specializes
get to
in women,
that.
somebody
Yes.
who really specializes in women, and I mean, I got into it for Franz knows. I mean, a very important reason, and um, but we'll set you. I'll set you up. You want a self defense weapon or more choices? Let me know.
Awesome. Thank you, Debbie. And Debbie really is awesome. And last question that I'll pose today is what age groups do you teach, and do you teach both boys and girls?
I do. I teach both boys and girls because young boys. I mean, it's one and 3 or 4 young girls. Boys is like 1 in 6. So there's not that much of a difference when they're little. So I teach them both when they're little. When it comes to classes, I will teach men, but I teach women separate. If a man and a woman wants to come in together, cool, I will do that. But the woman's got to agree to it, and so that's the only way. And I would much prefer to do one-on-one sessions because then I know what your strengths are, where you're strong and where you're not, where your power is, where your energy is, and I can coach you that way. But I can definitely um, teach both sexes. In fact, I teach a
That's
6-year-old karate once a week. A boy.
that's
Yeah,
awesome. That is excellent and awesome. Well, thank you so much, Debbie. You really have given us a lot of information on just general basic safety and a lot of things to think about. You know, and I think that everything that you provide is makes you a real property pro. I mean, it really helps people understand what they should be thinking about in their homes, how they're carrying themselves, and this is property. So you talked about not just their houses, stuff that they own. You talked about watches and cars and shoes and how to kind of uh, what you can do to keep yourself generally safe. And I think that's just incredibly valuable information all around. And I guess my very last question for you is, what do you have any other parting words before we end for today?
Yeah, for any parents out there, your kids just graduated. They're going to the next grade. Everything's a new experience. If these kids don't know what to expect, some dude's going to tell them what's expected. So, um, either share with them some of the experiences and mistakes that you made as a kid, or send them to me, because I have no problem sharing that information. And probably it might be better coming from me than from the mom. But um, yeah, when it comes to your kids, they need to know what's coming on their first date or their first anything. So please, that's my parting word. I said no. Grab, twist, pull. That's my I said no. My new rallying
I
cry.
I think that is an excellent rallying cry. Thank you so much, Debbie. You are amazing and awesome. I just love how much information you have about, you know, so much, but specifically self-defense in this case. Um, Here is all of your contact information. I have posted it up for anybody who wants to get a hold of you. I mean, also, you have the best name, Debbie Love. Love Debbie,
I
love
know, right?
self-defense. It's it is amazing. It's great. And I've known you for a while, and you really do have a lot of love to give as a person. And so thank you so much for being our guest. I really appreciate it. And next week, I will have another real property crow who will talk to us about something amazing and awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will
Thank
see you all next week.